It's times like this that I know I'm a perfectionist, because this is the stack that I read in the month of May, and in my head I'm still like, I could have read more. Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Emma, and this is every book that I've read in the month of May. Yes, the order of the books just changed because I had to put them in reading order. So I read 10 books in the month of May, and while I was reading them, I thought I wasn't reading a lot of books. I thought I was like, oh, there's YouTubers that have read 13 or 16. I don't know how people read 16 books in a month, because look at this stack, you can't even see the whole thing. But yeah, I spent a good chunk of time reading. First up, we have a book by my favorite author, A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. So A Gathering of Shadows is actually the second in a trilogy. The first one is a Darker Shade of Magic. It's a part of the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. So I read the first book a little bit ago, and overall I liked it. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved the main characters, I liked her writing style, but this book was so much better than the first one. This is a young adult fantasy, and it is so unique because of its world building. So in this world that the author has created, there are 4 different worlds, all categorized by color. So there's Red London that has a lot of magic, and it's basically thriving, it's a nice place to live. Then there's Grey London, where there's absolutely no magic whatsoever. There's White London, where there was magic, but it was corrupted, so it's kind of like a decaying world. And then there's Black London, which they don't talk about. That's even worse than White London. It is just bad news from what I've gathered. So I can't say too much about this book. I don't want to spoil the ending of the first one, but let's just say that it's a world adapting to the changes that were made at the ending of the first book. But oh my gosh, overall I loved this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, which I usually don't give every book 5 out of 5 because there's something that always annoys me, but this book I loved. It is over 500 pages, and I hate big books. I love a 300-page book that I can go through really quickly, and so that's why I put off reading this one for so long, because it's so thick. So the main characters are the saving grace of this book. Not the saving grace. That makes it sound like the rest of the book sucks. It doesn't. But the best part of the book are the main characters. The female character is Delia Bard. She is a thief and a wannabe pirate, and she's just a really good character, all in all. And then there's Kel, who is an Antari, and I'm gonna assume that's how you pronounce it, Antari. They're special because they can travel between the 4 Londons. Lila and Kel meet in the first book, and they have their own adventure, and then at the end they kind of part ways. And then the big thing that happens in this book is there's a tournament for every single person that can control magic in Red London. So they call them magicians. But every single magician comes to compete for the, let me look it up, Asentakt. That's the one thing about this book that I didn't like. There was so much of just made-up language that you had to kind of go through in your head. So they talk a lot in their own language, which isn't English. But you get kind of used to that after the first book. So they compete in this huge tournament, but they both do it, Kel and Lila, they do it under these fake identities that they've stolen from other people. And Kel and Lila don't even know that they're competing against each other in this tournament until they face off head to head in the arena, and that scene is really, really cool. And then there's obviously drama that happens after the tournament finishes, because an enemy from their past that they have in common comes back, and the ending of this book is really, really good, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But overall, 5 out of 5 stars. I swear this is a coincidence because I just said I don't give a lot of books 5 out of 5 stars, but the next one is a 5 out of 5. That's because it's Colleen Hoover. Confessed by Colleen Hoover. So my standards were already pretty high coming off of A Gathering of Shadows. The main character in this book is Autumn. She's 21, but we first meet her when she's 15. She's in the hospital and she's saying goodbye to her boyfriend at the time, who is dying from this, I don't think they go into detail about it, but this illness that he's tried to fight it, but all in all, he's not going to survive, they found out, so she's saying goodbye to him. It jumps forward to when she's 21, and she's a hairstylist, but she's not very good at it, so she's looking for a second job when she walks past this art studio that says "Help Wanted." The thing that's different about this art studio and about the artist that owns it, Owen, is that he collects anonymous confessions from people in the town, and then he makes paintings about it, which is the coolest part of this book, because let me show you. She put the paintings in the book. See, there's some with color. I don't know who did these, but these are absolutely beautiful. This was my favorite part of the book, because I hate whenever authors describe oh, they were so good at art, and like it's like hard to like imagine it all on yourself. I was gonna read you a confession, but it's kind of a spoiler, so I'm not gonna read it to you. So you just have to buy the book and then you get to read it. She responds to the help wanted sign. She works for Owen for a little bit, and they start growing close, and then halfway through the book, her like the whole plot that was going on flips upside down because there's a secret about Autumn that we don't know about, and that finally comes to light, and then Owen starts to seem like not what he was originally. It's so hard to talk about it without spoiling it. Okay, the one thing that threw me off about this book is I'm dumb, and I thought the entire time, like up until like probably this much, I thought that Autumn was 15, and it was very clear that Owen was 21, so I thought it was this weird age gap romance, and I absolutely hated it. I was like, why am I reading this? This is illegal, this is disgusting. But then they like went to a bar, and then she got ID'd, and we found out that she was 21, and was like, oh, so it's not illegal. This was originally going to be a 4-star for me, but the very last chapter like tied everything together, and it made me love Autumn, it made me love Owen even more, it made me hate one specific guy in this book that I'm not going to tell you his name, but I don't like him. But I love this book. 5 out of 5 stars. I want my money back. I feel robbed because every single 5-star reads video that I've watched, I've been told that this is an amazing book and everyone needs to read it, and you need to read the whole series and it's great, and like everyone can agree that they love it except for me and like Haley fam. There's like one other booktuber that I've found that hates this book, but everyone else loves it. The Deal by Al Kennedy. Just no. This was not 5 stars. If anything, it was like a 2.5. It's set at a college campus, and our main girl, Hannah, she is the epitome of what I do not like in female characters. I mean, pick me girl, check. Sexist to both women and men, check. Thinks she's better than everyone even though there's really nothing special about her personality, check. I really don't have anything nice to say about Hannah, so I'm just not going to talk about Hannah anymore. Garrett Graham was okay. Like, everyone told me that he was like the best book boyfriend, or he's like the best love interest from any book ever. And like, I have to ask, are you guys okay? Blink twice if you need help. He's just extremely misogynistic, and like he's such a one-dimensional character. Like, there's no depth to him whatsoever. He like doesn't have any signs of like empathy or anything like that. As a couple, they were really annoying as well. Like, he like called all the girls that he got with puck bunnies because he's a hockey player, and it's not that it really offends me, it's just it makes it hard for me to want him to be happy. So I don't necessarily hate him, I'm just kind of indifferent towards him. And then there was like another thing that I can't find the quote in here, but it was like she was bragging because she could eat 4 pieces of pizza or something. And then he was like, oh, I find that attractive. I hate girls that eat salad. And she's like, no, you like skinny girls. And he's like, no, I want something to like grab onto or something. It was 2.5 stars out of 5. The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Okay, this book was also a 5 out of 5 for me. This is the second book in what I believe is going to be a trilogy from Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The first book I really liked, but it was like too much time being set up, introducing the characters, the world building, their history, and so that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but this one was so much better. Short chapters, really good pacing, like you could not put the book down. It follows Avery Grams, who in the first book was mysteriously inherited this billionaire's fortune, who she has no ties to, she does not recognize him whatsoever, but he basically disinherited his entire family and gave his entire fortune to this girl for some reason. She has to live in the house with the people who were disinherited for a whole year, or else all of the money that she gets goes to charity. The main focus is her trying to figure out why she got all the money, and she's getting help from this man's 4 grandsons, who I absolutely love all of them. They're all so unique. And they're all just like very clever, and they're just fun to read about. Comment down below if you're Team Grayson or Team Jameson. There's only one right answer. It's Team Jameson. I get so excited whenever I find a book in a bookstore that's not popular on Book Talk or BookTube, or like I've never heard anyone talk about it. I feel like I did something, you know? I feel like I did something. I'm saying this because the next book that I read this month is The Wisteria Society for Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. This book is so cute and so funny. I loved it. Kind of like a satire on Victorian society. It's basically her joining this secret society of Victorian ladies who they have to like uphold these standards and these traditions and like all these like customs of being a lady. They're kind of hypocritical because they can uphold that while literally being pirates and thieves. and they are so funny to read about. So Cecilia, it follows her as she tries to get initiated fully to being a lady in the society, because right now she's kind of like a junior. She's like down here, and she's trying to get up with her great aunt. The first chapter, you find out that she meets this boy who's been tasked with trying to kill her. She has a warrant on her head, and there's an assassin after her right now. And she just like takes it as like a compliment. She's like, oh my god, that means I'm like a really good thief because people are trying to kill me. The main plot really picks up whenever her great aunt and the rest of the Wisteria Society get kidnapped, and she has to team up with the boy who's like trying to kill her, and they have to go and save the rest of these women. But he's like agreed not to kill her until they finally get them back, and then he's gonna kill her. But you know, they're like flirty, they're kind of funny. It's kind of a romance, so does he really kill her? Read it, you'll find out. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, now I have a book that actually meets book talk and booktube hype, which is Addicted to You by Becca and Christina Ritchie. Did I say that right? Krista and Becca Ritchie. I don't know what I said before, but this book was actually really fun to read about. Like, I could not put it down. So it's following the story of Lily and Lo, and they are adults in college, and they're both these children of these very wealthy, very famous families. They're kind of celebrities, sort of, you could say. So the thing about celebrities is nothing in their life is private, or they have no right to privacy, so they have to try to hide the fact that they're both struggling from addictions. They're fake dating, they have been for years, while hiding each other's addictions, because they're the only ones that feel like comfortable sharing their addictions with each other. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars only because I found Lo a little annoying. Like, he was a really big hypocrite, because every single time Lily acted on her addiction, he would get really upset and offended, but whenever Lily tried to stop him, like, from acting on his addiction, he completely snaps and loses it at her. Like, sometimes he like makes up for it, but he sometimes acts like she's not allowed to have an addiction, but he is. Other than the fact that I just completely like roasted this entire character, said how much I hated him, I didn't actually hate him, I just found him a little annoying. Okay, the next book was almost a 5 out of 5 stars, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars for the same reason that I gave Addicted to You a 4 out of 5 stars. The love interest is so rude for no reason, and that's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book, I can see why someday it could be turned into a classic, because I just really enjoyed the whole story. I liked the like politics and drama of celebrity life and how it looks so glamorous from the outside, but actually seeing her struggle with different things, you can see like how dark it kind of is. It's the story about the woman who's writing the autobiography of Evelyn Hugo. So we follow this journalist who is kind of like up and coming, she's very new, and she's surprised whenever this old, I didn't mean to say old, but like older Hollywood starlet asks her to write her autobiography for her. She obviously accepts the job, and then she goes to her house and she starts listening to her entire life story, all the movies she starred in, all the friends she's made, her Oscar win, and of course the 7 different men that she married throughout her Hollywood career. Harry Cameron. Harry Cameron is a literal angel. I love him so much. He deserves everything. I'll tell you who I didn't love. Celia St. James. Celia St. James is a co-star of Evelyn / rival. She's also an actress in Hollywood, and they form a very close friendship, and then things happen in their relationship, but I can't really say because it's kind of a spoiler. I did not like the way Celia treated Evelyn just throughout the entire book. It wasn't like, it's not the way that you would want to treat someone that you love. Like, and she supposedly really cared for Evelyn, but she treated her terribly. Other than that, it was a really good book. I loved Evelyn, and I loved the writing and the pacing. It was great. Taylor Jenkins Reid did a really good job on this one. 4 out of 5. I was on like a romance book streak for a while, and then after The 7 Husbands, I just got so sick of it. I'm like, I need a YA fantasy. Like, I miss the Red Queen series so badly. The Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard is my favorite of all time, and I needed something like that. So I kid you not, I literally googled book series that remind you of the Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and I found Frostblood. This Frostblood by Ellie Blake is a YA fantasy, and it is exactly what I wanted. It is exactly what I was in the mood for. So it follows Ruby, who is a fireblood in the country of Frostbloods, meaning she's a fireblood, so obviously she can like control fire. And she's in a country who is very prejudiced against people like her, because there are basically no people like her, because they've been hunted down and killed by the Frostbloods. And one day she's kidnapped and she's taken to the rebellion of people who gather together and they want to defeat the Frostblood king. She joins them, of course, because she hates the country, she hates the people, so obviously she hates the king. And then she kind of butts heads with the main male character in this book named Arcus. Arcus is like your cliche, arrogant, kind of rude but sarcastic main character, but honestly I just loved him. Like, I recognized he was kind of cliche, but I still loved him. So it does not always center around her and the rebellion, because at a certain point she gets separated from the rebellion and then she gets taken to the Frostblood king himself, and she's entered into this tournament where she can try to win her freedom by fighting other Frostbloods, basically. So she has to like fight to the death tournament kind of thing to try to win her freedom while knowing that rebels are still out there. So she's like trying to survive, but she also like has this vendetta against the king, and she has like her allies out there. It's so fast-paced, really good plot twists, really well-developed characters. I love this book, so 4 out of 5 stars. So after I finished that book, I didn't even want to pick up one of the ones I already had on my shelf that I needed to read. And I immediately went and I bought Fireblood, which is the second book in the trilogy. Fireblood picks up a little bit after Frostblood ends, and I can't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil the book back there. She has a greater goal now than just killing the Frostblood king. She recognizes that the whole country is kind of corrupt. It's kind of like a prophecy cliche. It's like the chosen one trope, but it's actually done pretty well in this book, I think, because you aren't actually sure that she is the chosen one. And you're not sure if she's the right chosen one, because there's a child of light and a child of darkness prophecy, and they're trying to figure out which one she is. But this one, she travels to a different country, a whole different island, which is populated with all Firebloods, so people that are just like her. And she realizes that Firebloods hate Frostbloods just as much as Frostbloods hate Firebloods. This one, she gets to meet, I'm gonna guess his name, Prince Kai. I'm gonna say that, K-A-I. She gets to meet Prince Kai. I like him. I liked Prince Kai. I can't say much about this book other than I just really liked it, so I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And this brings us to our last book that I read, and it is my favorite book. Besides the Red Queen trilogy, no, it's not trilogy, quartilogy? That's not a word. Besides the Red Queen series, I really love Caraval by Stephanie Garber. It's just the writing and the setting and the characters and the plot, and like, I wouldn't change anything except for maybe the way that the main character chooses her love interest. I would have chosen a different love interest, but I can't really say my thoughts because I don't want to spoil the whole series. Go read Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and then you can follow it up with this book, Once Upon a Broken Heart. I loved this book. It follows my favorite character from the series. Like, whenever I found out that this was a real thing, I thought it was like a joke. Like, I saw it on Goodreads, I'm like, is that like a fan fiction someone wrote? Like, that's not a real thing. There's no way that she took my favorite character from that big series and made him his own book with his own love interest. Like, I had to get it. I had to. Jax, the Prince of Hearts. This book actually follows Evangeline Fox. Her personality is very Alice in Wonderland-esque, which I really liked. She wasn't just like the cliche, stubborn, strong-willed girl who's like, I'm gonna do the opposite of what everyone tells me, even if it's a really dumb decision. She's just like curious and kind of brave, kind of flirty, and she's just fun to read about. Like, she's a very different character, and I really appreciated that. Do I like her more than Donatella from the Caraval series? I don't know, because I really love Donatella, and Donatella and Scarlet, they appear in this book because it's the end of their series is when this book picks up, and I absolutely loved seeing them again. They are my favorite female characters, and they're such great, like, well-written sisters. It begins whenever she is kind of at a crossroads because the boy that she's in love with is set to marry her stepsister. And she believes, magic is a very big thing in this book, and she believes that this boy is under some sort of curse, and she doesn't know what to do. So she goes to a church which worships the fate Jax, who is the Prince of Hearts. He's the sign of unrequited love, so that's why Evangeline Fox goes out and finds him, makes a deal. And the deal says that he will stop the wedding between the boy she loves and her stepsister if she gives him 3 kisses in return, which means he decides who she gets to kiss. Like 3 different people. But he uses it so that he gives her the power that he has. So whenever she kisses this person, they'll either die. I said that really aggressively. They'll either die or be mind controlled by him. And he's doing it so that he doesn't get traced back to what he's trying to do. So it's Evangeline, and she follows along with the consequences of the deal she made. And so they meet different characters, they meet different fates. There's vampires in this book for like a very tiny section. It's everything I wanted this book to be, and I can't wait for the second one to come out. I was a little disappointed in the end, not gonna lie. That is everything I have for you guys, so this is the end of the video, and if you're anything like me and you need more book-related content constantly, you can follow me on Goodreads. It's just Emma Kitchen. I also have it down below, and you can subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video. Alright, thanks. I'll see you in my next video.